Hi students, I just want to demonstrate to you really quickly in the most bare bones form possible what you can do for your demo video for the close read project, for the close read harvest project that's due this week. I personally am having some issues with technology, so feel free to take this as far as you would like, make it as beautiful as possible, use PowerPoint, use editing tools if you have access to those things, but it's also totally fine for you to do a bare bones version of this. So here we go. So a close read is a method of literary analysis that requires you to look closely at the details of a text and draw conclusions from the questions that you're asking of the text based on what's happening within the text, what the context of the text, and then making parallels, drawing parallels between patterns that you see in figurative language and form to things that have happened in other circumstances of life, socially or personally. So one method that we've been using in class, if you haven't noticed, that you can apply to your close reading of Are You a Cheeseburger is the catch method. So here for catch, you've seen this already, but the first step is to circle unfamiliar words. So what do you do in a text like Are You a Cheeseburger that's simple? Sometimes words are familiar to you, but they may be unfamiliar in that context. So you want to make note of those words and ask questions. Why is this here? Why is this being said this way? You ask questions and you acknowledge confusion. So anytime that there's something unique or different, you can ask questions, and then if you notice a pattern of it in the book or that it's just something that really stands out, later on, you can draw conclusions about that based on what else is happening in the text. So as you're doing that, you're also talking with the text and you're tracking the details, right? You're tracking those patterns. You're tracking new metaphors, symbols, similes, repetition of sound, repetition of rhythm. So all of those kinds of things you want to track, and you want to talk with the text, and you want to know why it's there, or a better question is, what is this doing? What effect is this choice in this text giving? The second thing you want to do is capture the main idea. So once you've read it a few times, I think one of the points, or the main point of this text, is to do this. How is maybe a certain passage or a pattern either contributing to that overall meaning or kind of distracting from it, and what meaning can you draw from that? And then finally, in this process, you're also highlighting important details. So the details we talked about before, and you're highlighting sentences that are unique. So if you don't want to write directly in your book, I did give you a chart that you can use to do those things. So I'm going to pick up the book now. And this is what we have been assigned to close read. This is Are You a Cheeseburger by Monica Arnaldo. And already immediately there's questions I can ask by looking at it. What is that, right? That does not look like a cheeseburger to me, and it's very green. Why the color green? Why is this green? What is this? This looks like a raccoon to me. Why is it a raccoon? So then we open up the book a bit more and we see cheeseburgers and all sorts of things. And we get here, and now we see some spotlight, a trash can, garbage, and we see the raccoon again. I wonder what this glowing thing could be. Seems to match this thing on the front page. So we see the first page, and it says this is Grub. So I can assume that this is Grub because it says in the second line, Grub is a raccoon, and he is all by himself, see? And I've read this enough times, right? So in a close read, we read it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and we're asking questions all along. Why is this raccoon in the garbage? Sometimes raccoons are in garbage. Why is this not a rat? Why is it a raccoon? Why this alley? Then you go and you look at the illustrations here, and I'm noticing trash and then this big glowing green thing again. And it says, and here is seed. Seed is a seed, of course, and he is stuck in the trash. Why would a seed be stuck in the trash? Usually seeds, when they're discarded, fall on the ground. I've never seen a seed just stuck in the trash. So maybe it blew off of a plant and it's an organic seed. But it looks pretty buried in there. So I'm wondering now if it got discarded. And I'm going to stop here. I'm going to expect you all to read more passages. More of the passage, right? So I expect you to read more pages and go on and see what this might be in context. But I have read this book several times. In fact, I was reading it with my son the other night, and he pointed out some of these things in the garbage reappear. That's a slinky, and all of these things. So now I'm wondering, is seed and raccoon, could they be a metaphor for something? As I read on through the book, I can skip over these pages, but I notice these scissors or shears or something like that. I notice that slinky again. So now I'm starting to see patterns. Are these intentional things happening in the text? As I go to, I'm gonna skip over a lot. I want you to gather pages. But my son had asked, Mommy, why are the scissors broken? And we've read this book. We read it almost every night. And he asked me that the other night, and I said, that is such a good question, and that's what close reading is. So you do need to read like a child. We saw the broken scissors again here. And the conclusion that we were able to draw from that is that Grubb is really good at using things that have been discarded or broken to create beauty. So there's a deeper message happening here. And that is partially and holistically, you continue to do things like that in a close reading. You find the symbols and then you talk about them. So we could also talk about Grubb is now, at the end of the story, he was a raccoon, but now he's being named a gardener by the narrator. Seed is no longer a seed either. So change has happened. So this follows a narrative arc. So we can look at plot and things like that and really understand what's going on in the book. So close reading requires you to read several times. It requires you to ask questions. It requires you to look for patterns and details. And then from there, based on what is happening within the text, you draw conclusions. And then after you draw those conclusions, you can make larger connections, like spending time with someone has the power to, like Seed and Grubb, who is now a gardener, transform us, right? If we allow a process to be a process, as Grubb has. All right, I want to see what you have and what details that you picked up in the text that I may not have, and what connections you make with the text that I may not have made. Thank you, and I look forward to watching your videos.